From the creators of Relevant Magazine, this is the Relevant Podcast.
It's Tuesday, November 19th, 2019. You're listening to the Relevant Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Huckabee, here in Nashville, Tennessee. Out there in Orlando, Florida, in the Relevant Podcast studios. On the ones and twos, keeping an eye on things, making sure that we don't go off the rails, is our illustrious producer, Chandler Strang.
Hello.
Right next to him, keeping an eye on Chandler to make sure that he doesn't go off the rails in sort of a Russian doll situation of fail-safes. We have my friend, John David Harris. Hey, JD.
Greetings.
And out there in Loveland, Virginia, a sort of a watchful eye, like Mordor, over the evil tower that's the miles away, but you can't escape its sight. It's our friend Jesse Carey.
Hello.
Jesse, we just heard that you are currently you're doing double duty right now. You're not only helping produce a podcast. That's right. Some of the finest, most high-quality audio content available on the internet in 2019.
Yep.
You are also overseeing a child's birthday party.
That's
simultaneously.
Right. That's right. My daughter has turned 4, and they are partying like only 4-year-olds can party downstairs. So it's a big day over here. Hopefully there's no noise that distracts everyone, but it's a joyous occasion, and hopefully the joy translates to this podcast because, Tyler, we have a segment coming up I'm very, very excited about. Yeah. It's basically hosting this upcoming segment is like my 4th birthday all over again. That's the level of joy. Should
we just tease it for now? I don't even know if we should even give away the name yet.
You know what? Let's do it. I mean, people are already fast forwarding there because, well, first off, obviously we have a great guest. We should probably tip our hat to him.
Yeah, I should tip our hat. So we are going to be joined later on today by, this is a good one, by David Kinnaman. David Kinnaman, of course, over there at Barna, a resource that we use all the time for our reporting over here at Relevant. He's got a new book called Faith for Exiles, 5 Ways for a New Generation to Follow Jesus into Digital Babylon. Really great conversation with him. In addition, as if that wasn't enough, as if that doesn't already give the people what they want.
We're giving you one of the smartest, most interesting people in the intersection of faith and culture. Someone who's researched and knows everything. We're giving you that, but now we're giving you something even more.
Yeah, it's not. Better. Yeah. Because out of the generosity that we have, even on considered extra birthday present to Haley today.
That's right.
Just a little something extra.
David Kinnaman.
We've also got a game that Jesse has put together called McGee Me Plus.
That's right. It's called McGee Me Plus. It is based on the new Listen. Here's the thing, man. I'm with the marketing team all day trying to come up with strategies to really tap into the cultural zeitgeist to get those needles moving and get people really a buzz. So I asked them, I said, what are the people talking about? What's the scuttlebutt out there today? In general, what's everyone talking about? They're like, well, the only thing everyone's talking about is Disney Plus, the new streaming service.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's all you need to say because I've got my own twist on it. It's McGee Me Plus, and it's a game that I promise you will never forget, even though you'll likely very much want to after we do.
McGee and Me feels like one of those things that you either know a lot about McGee and Me or you don't know what that is at all. There's probably not a lot of middle ground on the McGee and Me fandom.
Yeah. I think the great thing about McGee and Me, which was it was like a Christian for people who didn't have McGee and Me in their life. First off, is probably better off for it. But it was a Christian television show. But it wasn't, to my knowledge, it was never on TV. It was like one of those shows where it was basically like what you did with all the shows on Disney Plus. You bought in VHS format and they came, if my knowledge is like those like plastic VHS ones that have that really nice snap when you open it, cases,
Nice,
sometimes like there's like kind of cushiony on the outside. It felt really special when you get that new McGee Me VHS tape. But anyway, it followed the adventures of a boy named Nick and his little buddy, who happened to be a cartoon that he drew that came to life and helps him navigate relatively uncomplicated moral situations that really test his faith. But my question is the logic with McGee and Me. Like, no one else can see McGee.
Yeah.
It's never really clearly established.
The mythology is very poorly
it's very
explained.
weird.
It's
And like,
never
you don't even know, like, is it all in Nick's mind?
Yeah,
Is it like a
delusional?
dream?
Yeah.
Right. Or is it like, who knows?
There's a lot of unanswered questions, and the series hasn't been active in a while. But like I said, Disney Plus is making us think about a lot of old cartoons, so we just haven't seen. You know, we got the old X-Men on the Disney Plus. You got all those old weird Disney movies they maybe saw once as a kid and kind of forgot about. Those are all back. So I said, why not dust off McGee? McGee and Me. I mean, you know, they've been stagnant far too long.
You got to milk those nostalgia. That's just there. It's just sitting there. We're talking about it. They've done nothing to raise to get this level of marketing from us, and yet here we are. We're doing it anyway. And I would love if anybody out there. I believe this was a Focus on the Family production, if I remember correctly. If anybody out there at Focus wants to come on and answer some of our questions about the internal logic, the sort of the lore of McGee and Me. My questions have questions. It was a very confusing, even for children, where you're willing to kind of take it all. You're just like, I don't care, whatever. He's got, like, you could swallow anything in those days. He got bit by a spider. He has spider powers. No problem. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. That works. Even then, this one raised a lot more questions than it ever answered.
Like when Nick is talking to McGee, when Nick is talking to little McGee, is people just looking around like, oh boy, Nick's talking to himself again.
He just does this.
Yeah, trust me, he does this.
Nick.
Anytime he's tempted to cheat, anytime he finds himself possibly caught in a lie, he's just going to talk to himself. And
I also thought it was weird that like McGee never had like a clear like objective. Like it wasn't like he was the moral center of the show. It wasn't like McGee's like giving him
pretty
advice.
conflicted as well.
He wasn't like Jiminy Cricket. He wasn't he wasn't dispensing good advice.
It wasn't like a guide.
No, he just like was literally going through the same things Nick was and not providing him answers. I could see this being a very unhelpful imaginary cartoon character to carry around.
He was both the angel and the devil on the shoulder. He kind of played double duty.
Well, and here's the question no one really wants to address, if I'm going to be honest with you, because, you know, this was a feature of Focus on the Family. So faith constantly came up in the
religion,
show. Like,
was a big factor.
And so, I mean, what the question we're left to ask is McGee saved? Is McGee going to spend eternity in cartoon hell, which is basically a low-budget Christian show? Or, you know, does he have a shot? Does he have a shot
does
at
he
the
even
great
have a
beyond?
soul?
Thank you. Thank you.
We don't know.
Because, you know, Nick was created by God, but Nick created McGee. So it's very complicated and
in
very
a way,
troubling.
Nick might be the god of McGee's world, but a very unreliable one with a much flimsier moral compass. Once you start asking these questions, like I said, the questions have questions, and I feel like it wasn't super well thought through by the Focus on the Family staff.
If I was a cartoon who was brought to life by some human overlord, I'd be pretty scared if he's sneaking into R-rated movies. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of person I want running the show. Watching those 3D scary monster movies. I remember that episode. Nick's not a great dude. He always did the wrong thing. Yeah.
Night of the Blood Freaks. That's right. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. Good pull.
I had it in the can.
I still have a McGee piggy bank.
Oh, you do?
So that's where I put my pennies. Yeah.
You have a McGee and Me piggy bank?
Yeah.
What? How are we just? You're just
McGee.
now dropping this in?
Where did you even come across this type of merchandise?
Probably Family Christian Bookstore 20 years ago.
Is it McGee?
Probably longer,
like, is
25.
it just his head?
It's McGee sitting on books.
Oh,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is quite the item.
A lover of knowledge, for sure.
I will say, I did see when I was in like second grade or third grade, they showed an episode of McGee and Me at my public like school. But
Really?
they trimmed it out. They trimmed it down to like remove all the spiritual content. So they like cut like 5 or 6 minutes out of the show. And the only reason I knew it is because they also had it, you know, at my church. We'd watch it in like children's church or whatnot. But I remember thinking like, this is so crazy. They're showing McGee and Me at school. And then all of a sudden it'd be like, and remember to be a nice person. And you're just like, oh.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised to find out that godless America yanked all the faith content out of McGee and Me?
Yeah.
Surprise,
First they want
surprise.
prayer out of public school. Now they want God out of McGee and Me. Now the lesson gets even more unsophisticated. The whole lesson of the entire episode without God in it is don't vandalize an elderly person's home, which again was an entire episode of McGee and Me. It was like they ran out of things that like the average kid would run into. Like, should I tell my parents a lie? Should I cheat on the test? Should I, try to get ahead in the big neighborhood BMX race? No, it's like,
no, it wasn't BMX. It was a skateboarding race.
That's right. It was.
Thank you, Jay.
And it's like, we've already covered all that. We got to get creative here. Well, vandalism. The youth of America today are very conflicted about whether or not they should vandalize these old people's houses.
I think it was a hate crime too, because I think he was a Native American gentleman.
Yeah, he was indigenous. Yeah,
it was a very troubling episode. It was very troubling.
Things got dark for Nick quickly. I wonder if that you know who I'd rather talk to than the person who created the internal logic of McGee and Me is that guy who played Nick. He's out there somewhere. He's just living his life. I don't think he really broke it in Hollywood. I think McGee and Me was kind of his career peak, but I'm sure he's doing well. I'm sure he's happy.
Maybe he didn't want to act after that. Maybe he's living off those piggy bank residuals.
Speaking of weird McGee and Me tie-overs with Hollywood, the nerdy kid that was picked on in the skateboard race episode of McGee and Me ends up being the kid in Jurassic Park that says, that doesn't look scary to me, more like a 6-foot turkey. That's the same kid.
Wait, the kid who at the beginning who's kind of a throwaway gag for the raptor thing? That's the same kid?
That's the kid that made it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's another legend. Let me look him up.
A legend.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
Icon. How am I just not? That's great. That's great trivia.
Up until him, he was the biggest crossover artist other than Jars of Clay in any kind of Christian media. It's that kid, it's Kanye West, and Jars of Clay. Those are the biggest crossovers we can get.
He was proof that he was proof of concept. Proof
the kid from the skateboard episode of McGee and Me, and Jars of Clay Flood. I heard that on like pop radio.
Would it be weird to be like the kid who was like directed by the director of episode 5 of McGee and Me and Steven Spielberg in like the course of like 3 or 4 years? Mr. Spielberg,
life comes at you fast. Yeah.
On my last set, we did this a little differently. Are we closing in prayer?
Okay. Well, we got a lot more McGee and Me to cover, and we are going to. This is going to be a McGee and Me episode. So you've been warned. Get out now if you're not liking this. This is what the whole show is going to be like. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, slices. You're listening to Listerine by Dayglow. At the beginning of the podcast, you heard Still Here by Honeymoon. And that's what I'm saying. The kid who played Nick is still here somewhere.
There somewhere.
We just don't know where. Yeah, but he's, I mean, I hope so. I guess I shouldn't speak
He's in prison. He's in prison. I have no idea. I hope not. I hope not. I hope
without McGee to steer him the right or wrong direction.
Without a fictional cartoon to lead him away from cheating in the big neighborhood skateboard race. Who knows where he ended up? So.
Yeah, who knows? Heck, it could have been McGee that talked him into taking on that big gig and the bank heist, and McGee's out on the lam still, but Nick is locked behind bars having to serve time.
Well, now it is time for our look back at some of our favorite news stories of the week. It's time for Slices. Jesse, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so this one comes, I have a twofer. The first one comes to us from the British Academy of Sound Therapy, which, by the way, what an awesome band name that would be. The British Academy of Sound Therapy.
Does that mean like therapy for sound, or like that their therapy makes sense? What is it?
Sound therapy.
Yeah.
It's actually, I read it wrong. It's the British Academy of Sound Therapy. So it's very
okay.
sound therapy.
Okay.
They did a new study, and a lot of research went into this because they studied the musical effects on nearly 8,000 people around the world. And they asked them different things about their physical and mental health, and how relaxed and uplifted and what their kind of emotional disposition was. And they determined the sweet spot for how much music you should listen to each day for maintaining good health. I want to go around every day. Okay. How much music do you think the British Academy of Sound Therapy would recommend that you listen to?
Okay. I mean, obviously, it kind of depends on the music a little bit, but I'm going to say on average, I'm going to go with at least 45 minutes.
Oh, 45, JD.
Can you give me? Is it minutes or hours?
It's minutes. It's minutes.
It is minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 160 minutes.
I say 90.
Wow.
90? 90, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of music. I don't think I listen to 90 minutes of music like a week anymore. I mean, I'll listen to like a tune here or there, but they say you should listen to maybe I should, because they say you should listen to 78 minutes of music each day for optimal health. So over an hour of your day should be spent listening to music. However, they also found that even if you just
stuff.
What's
Can you
that?
be like driving, or does it have to be like sitting down with headphones on?
No. Do you know passive?
I think it can be pretty passive. They said that the main thing is that it's a variety of musical types. And they said it's really important, actually, that like sad music that causes some degree of self-reflection is in the mix. So within that, hour and 15 minutes or so of listening, to make sure you have a pretty good a variety. They said that the two most important are relaxing music, but also like reflective music. But they said, listen, if you don't have 78 minutes, even if you only took 11 minutes per day, music can also add some therapeutic benefits. So, I think the takeaway here is we probably should be listening to more music. So it's good for your health. All right, number 2. This is the one I really wanted to talk about. Tyler, you first brought this one to me, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since.
Oh, I know exactly where we're going with this one.
It is a new film that evidently, according to the Hollywood Reporter, set off a bidding war with HBO Max, Paramount, and Lionsgate. They all wanted a piece of this movie, and the movie is called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It stars one of my favorite actors, someone who I've always felt very close to, an American icon, the one, the only Nicolas Cage. All right. For the next moment, I'm going to read uninterrupted the official description of this film brought to you by the Hollywood Reporter. Here it is. Nicolas Cage plays a character who is desperate to get a role in a new Tarantino movie while also dealing with a strained relationship with his teenage daughter. Okay, so Nicolas Cage is portraying Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage is trying to get a movie in a Tarantino movie while also, trying to mend a relationship with his daughter. So it's a little meta, him playing himself, trying to get a role in a movie. But it's
I always like those, when the movies are willing to get, when they're cast as themselves. Yeah. And those are always good. That Jean-Claude Van Damme from a few years back.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, you got me. It seems like a pretty straightforward plot too. An actor trying to get a role in a big movie while, that's enough for most movies. It's like Birdman or something, an actor at a career crossroads while also trying to mend the relationship with his daughter. It could have stopped there, but it's going to keep going. He also occasionally talks to an egotistical 1990s version of himself who rides him for making too many crappy movies and for not being a star anymore. So there's also like this meta ghost Nick Cage. So it's Nick Cage trying to audition for a movie, playing Nick Cage, trying to mend the relationship with his teenage daughter while also interacting with cocky 90s Nick Cage. But
this is still Birdman. Like,
It's just wait, because we're just getting warmed up. The Cage character is also under a mountain of debt and finds himself forced to make an appearance at the birthday party of a Mexican billionaire who happens to be a fan of Cage's work and secretly hopes to show him a script on which he's been working. The plot just thickens. Okay. Now he's going to perform for a Mexican billionaire, and it hasn't even got to the most interesting or good part yet. I'll continue. While he bonds with the man, Cage is informed by the CIA that the billionaire is actually a drug cartel kingpin who has kidnapped the daughter of the Mexican presidential nominee and is recruited by the U.S. government to get intelligence. But wait, the situation spirals even more dramatically when the Mexican brings Cage's daughter and his ex-wife for reconciliation, and when their lives are on the line, Cage takes on the role of a lifetime. Guys, this movie
incredible.
As I'm reading it, it just gets better. The synopsis of that movie, honestly, is one of the best movies I've ever seen or heard. Like, I would pay, like, just that synopsis alone. Having never seen the movie, I would pay $12 for the movie ticket. If someone said, "Hey, I'll give you the greatest movie synopsis of all time, it'll cost you $12." I'm in. I am in. This could be the movie that you know. I think because it's so meta, I could see it bringing Cage some much needed credibility right now.
I hear in my head the trailer voice, the movie trailer, like the In a World, that guy.
Yeah.
At the very end, Nick Cage is Nick Cage, and Nick Cage is Nick Cage.
Yeah, I love it. And Nick Cage is the only one who could pull this off. And I'm not even sure if he read this. If he was like, he's been in so many insane movies and just terrible movies that I think he read this synopsis and he was just like, okay, this sounds okay. Like this is just par for the course for him. He wasn't like, what? He was just like, okay, yeah, let's do it. It's like that old SNL joke. It's like, Nick Cage. What happens when Nick Cage's agent's phone rings? He just answers it and goes, "I'll take it." Like literally, he's doing anything right now. So I wonder if some screenwriter was like, I wonder if Nick Cage really will take any role. Let's just write the most insane idea ever and just see if he takes it.
How funny would it be though if like they wrote this whole movie and Nick Cage passed on it, so they just cast Kiefer Sutherland in the role, and it didn't change. They didn't change anything. Yeah, it's still Nick Cage, but it's just the role of a lifetime. The role of a lifetime for Kiefer Sutherland. He has to truly inhabit the role of Nicolas Cage in the Nicolas Cage biopic.
I love it. I'm here for it. Anyway, it's coming. It's in. Set off bidding war. I'm very excited about it. The unbearable weight of.
Do you know the tone of it? Is it like serious? Is it a dark comedy? Is it like?
That's a really good question.
I think the tone is unintentionally awesome. Like, it's awesome for reasons that it didn't intend to be.
Because it could be sort of like meta, funny commentary on that, like, or it could just be a straightforward action. Like this could just be like back to the National Treasure days of Cage's career.
Yeah.
And I would not be complaining if that was
they should be teaching National Treasure in film school.
Yeah,
I think they're on Disney Plus. I think those films are on Disney Plus.
It's time for a whole new generation to discover this. All right, JD, what do you got?
Well, I don't go looking for these stories. These stories find me. Chandler, would you please?
That's
right. Last time we were all on this podcast together, we talked about stories from beyond the grave, about haunted roads in the woods and mysterious orbs. Well, just this week, new information was released about an encounter that two fishermen in Sao Paulo, Brazil had with an unidentified flying object. For some reason, all of the evidence had gone missing until right now. These two fishermen were out one day fishing when all of a sudden they saw a strange saucer-like craft hovering over a nearby island. They were so afraid they dove into the bottom of the boat to try to hide from whatever it could have been. They ran home, or they rode home and then ran home. The next day they came out to the site and found not only evidence of the craft, but depressions in the ground, burned grass, and markings of where the feet stood. They contacted the local government officials that came out and took photos, and those government officials did nothing with the evidence until now. It has been released, and there are the photos online that you can see of what looks like a square depression in the ground.
I love like the build up to all weird paranormal stuff. It's like all this crazy stuff happened, and finally we've got the evidence we've been looking for. What is it? Well, that wet grass over there is kind of flat. So, I mean, what could have done that? Pry tell.
I didn't do it. Did you do it? I didn't do it.
I also like that they were like, they claim that like we saw this hovering craft hovering over the island. And when we came back the next day, we found evidence of 4 like pedestals that the craft must have been sitting on. It's like, wait a minute. I thought you said that it was hovering over the island. Well, after we left, it must have landed, I guess.
So this is in Brazil. This is where that happened.
This is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That is right. The 2 fishermen. This happened in 1995, and they contacted the local authorities, who went out and took photos and evidence. And there's photos of the scorched grass and the flattened area. My favorite part of this entire story is they also released the eyewitness. Like the eyewitnesses sat down and drew a photo of what they claim to have seen. And is there a way for us to like add it on the show notes or something? Because it's just
we'll put it on the
that good.
Yeah, we'll drop it in on the
It's
episode
just that
page.
good. Hang on, I'm gonna send it right now to.
We'll post it on Twitter a little later.
you guys.
Well, let me ask you this while you describe this, JD. This happened in 1995, but they just went public with it this week. Did they explain why they waited, 25 years or whatever?
I think it's because, they're going to claim that it's because the evidence wasn't clear enough. But I think it's that the evidence was so clear and so damning that they just couldn't let this out. And I think what's happening now is we're at the moment where there's a shift in the zeitgeist, and they know that it's time for the truth to come out about the aliens that are inhabiting Sao Paulo, Brazil. I would like to point out to you, now that I've sent you the image.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
That in their terrified state, not only did they take the time to draw it in full marker color crayons or full color, but also they took the time to make sure that we knew that their boat was blue and that all the trees surrounding the area also had little sprouts growing around it. It looks like a
really
drawing.
Detailed. It's like a little kid's detailed drawing where they get they pick some kind of strange details to really focus in on.
It's like, well, it would have been helpful to get more idea about the spacecraft, not what a child feels like a hillside looks like with a box
There's
of
at least as
Crayola
much
markers.
more put into each of the trees as there is into the UFO itself.
Right,
which
yeah.
looks
Government
like
officials
lips.
are like, listen, I didn't need to see like fish jumping in the river. I appreciate that level of detail, but we're really more focused here on the strange object hovering below, beside you, not the nice little dock on the distance. But thank you for that level of detail.
The UFO itself does have, because it's just, I guess it's shiny or white or something, because there's no detail in the actual disc object, but the grass and even the water, they made sure that you knew that there were a lot of little tiny waves on the water. I would like to point out that it does look like the 4 like landing struts that they supposedly found evidence of later on does look like they were added after the fact because of how the lines cross over it.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh yeah, we drew this picture of this hovering UFO. They're like,
Here's
we
my
found these.
question. Here's my question, and why I remain a skeptic. Why can't aliens ever show up to a decent artist? Because everyone that I see that has an encounter with alien, let's be honest, sucks at drawing. It seems like I would be a lot more compelled to think that something's out there if they would just show up to one halfway good artist. I'm not saying
like if the aliens showed up to Nick from McGee Me, they might all have crazy pompadour yellow hairdos, but at least it'd be detailed enough for us to understand what's
going on here.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So aliens, if you're listening, just go to one of our kind that actually one has better utensils than what appears to be gigantic
Like
colored
Crayola markers.
magic
Yeah.
markers.
Yeah.
And two, someone who's taken an art class once in their life. That's
I
all.
also
That's
like
all.
to think of the idea that when they called the authorities, whomever they may be, it was like the Brazilian like UFO investigator authorities, and they showed up and they're like, "Would you be able to draw it?" And they're like, "Absolutely." And they're like, "Great, here are your materials." And they slid across the desk like a blank sheet of like construction paper and like a box of
Glue
open
sticks and
box
a
of
pipe, and
Crayolas.
pipe cleaners.
Yeah.
The curly Q scissors
Yeah.
that you use for like construction paper when you're a little kid.
Yeah, like, we raided the Sunday school closet and we found all these materials.
Yeah,
Give
listen,
us your-
I want you to make it as detailed as possible. And to aid you, I'm going to give you glue and macaroni. So really make this thing pop. We got to know what these aliens look like and what they're up to. So use as much macaroni as you need to.
Yeah. So this has now been registered as a close encounter of the second kind. So there it is.
Yeah.
Close encounter of the second
Yeah.
kind in Sao Paulo in 1995, about when McGee and Me went off the air. So
It's a powerful,
There you go.
it's a powerful
There you
image,
go.
powerful
Yeah, it is.
story. Yeah, I believe.
Wow.
I believe.
I mean, I'm sold at this point.
right. I mean, my work here is done.
I'll take a minute. I'll read my slides here. Speaking of sort of the line between real and fake and knowing what's true and what's not true. This is going to take us right back in there. So how familiar are you with the Fast Furious franchise? Are you diehards?
Extremely.
I've never seen one. So
Oh, we're both ends of the scale represented
we
here.
are both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I finally,
It's a
this year, I
fantastic
watched them all. I had never seen a single one, and then I just
You watch
decided
every
this was the
every
year.
one of them.
I watched every one of them like in like a 2-month period. Me and some friends just plowed through them all.
Does that include Tokyo Drift? Because I
saw
heard that's
I saw the bad ones too.
Okay.
What was your takeaway? What's your takeaway? I'm just curious, and we don't have to harp on the artistic merits of the Fast and Furious franchise. But as someone who recently binged all of them, I'm curious to know what are your thoughts about the franchise?
It starts out pretty straightforward, just like your straightforward early aughts action, like bro action movie franchise. It gets pretty bad pretty quickly. Things go downhill rapidly. Yeah. And then at some point, like 4 or 5, it just turns, and I'm not telling anybody, people don't know, I know this, but the corner that it turns is probably the most impressive franchise, just rebrand with the same actors for the most part that you can imagine. Like all of a sudden they have these just these guys who are on the street working cars, like working scrap metal cars, are now doing CIA Black Ops mission. They don't explain it. There's no reason for them to be doing this. They don't expect. And it's similar to the McGee and Me lore, where it's like, don't ask questions. We don't. That's not what this is. That's not this kind of movie. Just go. They're. It doesn't matter now. They're running national security, extremely high level national security missions for the U.S. government or other governments higher than the U.S. government. And that's just the way it is. They're the only ones who can do it. Don't worry about it.
The stakes increase insanely between 1 and wherever we are now. Because in 1, it's like, they're trying to bust, they're not even like just like thieves. They're trying to just bust underground car racers, right? Yeah. The stakes are, hey, they're going to, like literally the crime is, Vin Diesel and his guys are just going too fast regularly. like that's the main thing. Like we better get someone on that.
The biggest stunt is we have to go faster than we did earlier in the movie, and they do, and that's the big action sequence.
Yeah, exactly. The stakes are get them to slow down, okay? In bed with them, see if you can get them to pump the brakes, actually figuratively, because they're drag racing and that's dangerous. Yeah, later, they're like racing nuclear subs with the fate of the world. It is an impressive increase in stakes. Like I can't, they're like jumping out of skyscrapers in Ferraris, and doing the coolest heist the world has ever seen with the fate of the universe. And it is a very good, ratcheting up of the stakes. Yeah.
I would say that there were parts of it where I really had to struggle through, like 2 or 3, even 4 a little bit are pretty bland and get pretty bad, like just kind of the worst way an action movie can be. But it comes around. It really bounces back in a big way. Fast 5 was a real game changer. Yeah. So as everybody knows, there's kind of a very tragic part of the Fast and Furious story, which is that back in 2013, Paul Walker, who was the star of the first one and was a presence in all of them up to that point, died in a car crash. That was a very shocking and very sad and very strange out of nowhere death. And then they gave him, in the next movie, they gave him what was genuinely a very touching little send-off for Paul Walker's character, Brian. And I think, if I remember right, they had to use his brothers as kind of stand-ins on set for the last part of the filming of that, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a scene at the very end where the family, our whole crew, lets Brian like drive off into the sunset, and it was like in memory of Paul, and there was a song, and it was really like it was I would say like a heartfelt moment. It felt very authentic, and it was nice. But that was then. That was Fast 7. Now, for the next Fast Furious movie, the Fast and Furious 9, sources are reporting that this movie will feature the return of Paul Walker's character of Brian via the magic of CGI. They're going to bring him back in some capacity. We don't know how much. I don't know if he's going to be a major character again, or if this is going to be kind of like Princess Leia was in Rogue One, which is a really quick. Before you really even have time to register that it's not real, you see it and you go. But they're gonna bring him back in again, apparently with the permission of the Walker family. So I'm curious about you guys' thoughts about this. This has been a source of some contention online. It was brought up originally for this movie that's coming out next year called Finding Jack, which has actually cast James Dean in a lead role in it. James Dean, of course, has been dead for 65 years, but they believe that through using technology, they can cast James Dean in this role again. That has people very concerned and kind of upset about the ethics here, the morality of this. Is it right to cast somebody who has no say in their performance in a movie after they passed away? And what do you guys think about this? Where are you at on something like this?
It does seem like questionable ethics. I guess part of it comes down to like estate law. I mean, the people who control the estate of James Dean or Paul Walker. But it also seems like new territory, because whenever those laws, even if those laws were written very recently, using someone's actual physical likeness, not just as like an endorsement, but actually reanimating them in a lifelike way, it doesn't seem like, how could they possibly consent to the content? Exactly. Since they're no longer alive. It seems, I don't know. I don't think it would seem like an enjoyable movie. I mean, going thing. It's like knowing that Paul Walker and James Dean both tragically died young in car accidents.
Right.
Like, I don't know that I really have a desire to see them back on screen, knowing that it's, they died tragically and young,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there was, especially in the case of Paul Walker, there was a real attempt, it felt like, to try to do him right, do his legacy right by this franchise, which of course he was most famous for, that felt very like in a kind of a rare moment from Hollywood, that felt very real. And obviously it did seem like Paul was a friend to these guys. It seems like everybody, not everybody on set, but Paul Walker was a beloved presence on set. And so I'm just kind of curious about, I don't know. I've got a lot of, I would say right now I'm kind of leaning towards, I'm not really a fan of the ethics here.
I don't love the idea of it. JD, what do you think, man?
Well, I know that the similar problem came up when Carrie Fisher passed away.
Exactly, yeah.
And they had to, wrap up, I believe she had passed away before they had finished episode 7 or 8. And then now that they're working on 9, they had talked about how they weren't going to use, CGI to kind of resurrect her character, even though it was supposed to be like her movie. And now they figured out ways to utilize some unused footage from some of the previous films to like cut together sequences so that it makes sense with the story still. But they're not like, reanimating the person. Yeah. The problem for me in a lot of this is there's a technical aspect of it where it's like the technical, they're still in the uncanny valley where like it almost looks real, but it doesn't. And like you were mentioning, the other Star Wars film, Rogue One, where they used like a CGI young Princess Leia in there. And they also used, a CGI, and I do not remember the actor's
Peter
name.
Cushing.
Yeah. Peter Cushing. That's right. Yeah. And like, it was impressive for like a second because it's like throwing back to a character. And then when he became the main character of like the main villain of the film, instead of Ben Mendelsohn, who is a fantastic living and working actor, it almost felt cheap to the actors. And that's, I think, to me, where I land presently is sure there's a legal issue where it comes to like the estate, and also there's like a technological issue. But I feel like to me, it's showing how much, and maybe this has always been the case, but it's showing how little regard Hollywood in general has for the art of the art form of the actor themselves, because it's not just the likeness that you're casting when you're casting an actor. You're also casting their skill and like, what would they bring to the role? I mean, I remember when they, announced Heath Ledger was going to play the Joker in Nolan's The Dark Knight, everyone was like, what? Heath Ledger, really? And then he comes out of the gate with this crazy performance that's just fantastic that no one would have expected. And I feel like it's the same way. Like, okay, so you cast the CGI version of James Dean to play this movie, but you have no idea how James Dean would have actually played this character, and you're going to have to go out and find voice actors and body doubles to like portray James Dean. Well, why not just hire that person as opposed to the cash grab of being able to flash James Dean's name across the top, which honestly, they may have waited a little too long to get it. Cause I don't know how many people out there just waiting patiently for the next James Dean film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's some fun things that they can do with like this Nicolas Cage movie that's coming out that you guys were talking about earlier, how you can do things where you have the actor playing both versions of themselves, and they use CG to kind of de-age them. And I know they've played with that in some of the Marvel movies and stuff. And I think that's fun. That's like a fun trip to the movies.
They're still alive.
Right. They're still alive. And they are, as an actor, they are adding to that performance. They're able to like show us what they were like as that character, or, in that age, that time. And I think that in that regard, it's no difference than like movie makeup. But this was also a problem back in the 90s when they did the Back to the Future sequels, because they decided to, in Back to the Future 2, have George McFly's character in it, even though the actor who had portrayed George McFly in the original film did not want to take part of the sequels. And there was a big lawsuit over it because he was accusing them of using his likeness. Yeah. They accusing them of using his likeness, and not only his likeness, but also his performance. Basically hiring an actor to pretend to be, his, portray his performance of George McFly, and it became this big stink. And I think it's strange that this was starting then when the technology wasn't there. And now that the technology is starting to get there, it's starting to kind of become a more accessible thing, even though the legality of it wasn't ever settled. It was still like a thing that's floating in the air. So yeah, that's, I guess where I stand is like, I don't think they're there yet technologically, but even if they were, I think it kind of robs something from the ability of the actor to bring something unique and unexpected to a role.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting trend.
It's an interesting problem. But it does feel like I would never, this doesn't really happen anyway in really any tech sphere. And I certainly wouldn't expect it to happen in Hollywood, where people stop to ask, like, what are the ethics of what we're doing here? Or is this like the right thing to do? I doubt there's too many ethics advisory people on Hollywood boards or whatever asking these questions. But I suppose in this case, the question would really be for the Walker family, or the Fisher family, or however as this happens more and more, making sure that those estates have a lot of say in this is really important. And that's not always, you can't guarantee that's always going to be the case, because a lot of times these people they get muscled out of the conversation. And who has the say? Is it Walker's, is it his widow, his parents? What happens if there's disagreement there? Yeah. So that's just kind of a tough one. But So we'll keep an eye on it. I'll be interested to see if some of the backlash makes the franchise reconsider some of what this report is so far. They have not really confirmed the report either way. So we'll see what happens. And we will report back when we hear it. And that'll do it for Slices. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, David Kinnaman joins us. You're listening to Really Truly by No Vacation. Today's featured interview is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a clean landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or even an appealing online store, it's all possible with Squarespace. They have award-winning templates, customizable settings, and, of course, powerful e-commerce tools. And right now, Squarespace is offering Relevant Daily listeners a special deal. Head over to squarespace.com/relevant for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your site, you can use the offer code RELEVANT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/relevant. Well, our guest today is David Kinnaman. He's the president and strategic leader of the Barna Group. He's the author of the best-selling book, Unchristian, What a New Generation Really Thinks About Christianity, and the Barna Report, Teens and the Supernatural. I recently spoke to David about his new book, Faith for Exiles, 5 Ways for a New Generation to Follow Jesus in Digital Babylon, and what makes today's Christians so resilient. I love getting to talk to Dave. We really love Barna. The work they do has been so helpful for our coverage here. And talking about this new book, the first thing I wanted to know is why this book? He has so much research. They have so many numbers. How did he decide that this was really the angle he wanted to take for his first book and for us in a little while? Here's what he said.
Yeah, for me, I've spent a lot of time, really the last decade plus, which is weird. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely a middle-aged person now, 45 years old. I remember the very first article that went sort of viral on Barna.com, which was, the 20-somethings struggle to find their places in Christian churches. And I was a 20-something at the time that I wrote it. So it's been almost 15, 16 years. And so I've felt this large burden personally, professionally, to try to help connect the generations. I did a book called Unchristian in 2007, a book called You Lost Me in around 2011. And so I've been really passionate about trying to understand the faith journey story of millennials, Gen Z, trying to help connect the dots. And so Faith for Exiles, this new project, I kind of think of it as an end of the trilogy. We're in the Star Wars year. It's the end of the trilogy. You Lost Me was young non-Christians and the negative perceptions. We're known for all the things we are against. You Lost Me is the story of prodigals and nomads and the reason that people lose their faith. And this story is really the story of resilience, why people stay connected. And it's a super exciting look at, why faithfulness happens even and especially in a culture like we have today, very post-Christian, very secular, very entertainment-driven. So it's a really fun story of looking at what's working in the lives of those who are most resiliently Christian.
That's an interesting approach to take, because I feel like a lot of research that we read or a lot of research that we recover shows the information about people who leave the faith or leave the church or who walk away for one reason or another. So having a look at people who are particularly resilient to kind of cultural changes, I think is an interesting approach.
And that's what I really wanted to know, because we've talked about this. We've sort of speculated about this on the podcast and Irrelevant a lot. But I wanted to know what the research says. Why do the people who stay, and obviously there's fewer of them now than there have been in past years, but why the people who stay, what makes them stick around? What sets them apart? And because I wanted to know, I guess, sort of the main thesis of the book. Here's what he said.
Well, I think we could start at this idea of resilient faith. And we interviewed resilient disciples. We actually, as a, geeky researcher, we came up with like a definition of what resilience looks like.
Which is,
and, they're still engaged in church. They're still They still believe in the Bible. They actually believe in the death and resurrection of Jesus. That was actually a historical event, and that it matters to them. And importantly, they say that they want their faith to impact and be expressed in culture in our society today to make a difference. So what's crazy is only 10%, 1 in 10 people who grew up or experienced Christianity in a meaningful way as a teenager or a young adult. We interviewed 18 to 29-year-olds. It's a social sample. Only 10% qualified for those 4 characteristics: engaged church, authority of Scripture, Jesus honoring, and like faith and culture.
I thought it was really interesting that you could kind of chart what makes people stay, not just by what they do, but really what they believed, like the theological principles that make people more inclined to stay plugged into the faith.
Yeah.
And I was the word kept coming up, resilient. He used that a lot, and I was curious about the definition, what there, as a researcher, what his working definition of resilient really was. Not just why are people staying, but what are they resilient from? What's the thing that they're resisting? What's that pull? Here's what he said.
They're both resilient from the cultural pressures. They're not perfect people, but I was amazed to see all the ways that they're different. They have better, stronger relationships. They have just a whole different mindset about sacrifice. Again, they're not perfect. They struggle in a lot of ways, but it was really cool. I mean, the gospel is really working in the lives of these resilient disciples. And importantly, though, they're also resilient from the churchianity and the kind of what I call brand Jesus. They reject some of the things that I think the problems of American Christianity bring. Again, they're not perfect. There's not a silver lining or silver bullet here, but it's really cool to see how they're resilient.
I was going to say that's encouraging to see that the group that is resilient theologically and spiritually also is resilient to cultural shifts within the church.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's what makes the book so interesting, is the way he's able to really chart those cultural shifts. I think people are sort of aware that our generation is less religious than previous, or say they're less religious than previous generations. But David can really figure out why that is and what that means and what the encouragement is, and that the people who are resilient, what makes them that way, and how in many ways they're more resilient than our previous generations were. Something we've talked about a lot in here as well. So I love the book. I love this conversation with David. I would encourage people to go pick it up for sure, and look forward to talking to David again. Always really happy for the work that they do over at Barna. A really, really valuable resource for us, and obviously for anybody who cares about the trends of faith and culture. Barna's the name in the game for that one. Yeah. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, McGee and Me Plus. You're listening to They Say by Hoops. All right, so now it's time for, we haven't done a game in a while, but today was the day. We decided to roll out the red carpet. We're going to do a game. We've been talking about it all day, and now I hope the kids are still awake, stuff them full of caffeine, because this is going to be the highlight of this entire episode. Jesse, tell us what I feel like I'm handing off to Vanna White here. Jesse, show them what we're playing for.
That's right. Well, Felicia and JD. Well, first I want to introduce Felicia, and one of the coolest people on our staff is joining us to showdown with JD. And Felicia, I want to say that the stakes for this game could not be higher. You are playing for, drum roll please, pride amongst podcast listeners. It's huge. It is huge, and I'm nervous for you. I'm getting butterflies in my stomach. I'm nauseous just thinking about the pressure and the stakes here. Now, Felicia, I have a question for you. We talked about this show earlier. Are you familiar with a Christian TV show from probably 25 years ago that was called McGee and Me?
I am not. Actually,
yes.
Is that around the Bible Man era?
Disadvantage.
No, it's pre-Bible Man.
Pre-Bible Man.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Pre-Bible Man. Okay. So the premise of this show is a young, precocious young man named Nick draws a funny little character named McGee who jumps off the page and comes to life, and they go on little adventures and learn morality lessons and also lessons about faith, because this show, McGee and Me, was produced by Focus on the Family. Now, I've been recently, like everyone else, digging into the Disney Plus archives to find what gems are just waiting to be consumed by me. And there's no McGee and Me in there, but I did find a lot of old Disney shows that I've never seen before, including a show called Jonas, right? And this show follows the Joe Bros, the Jonas Brothers. This is their Disney Channel sitcom. And while I was like going through the archives, I found that a lot of their episode titling conventions were eerily similar to that of old episodes of McGee and Me. So here's how this game will work. You will each get the title of an episode.
Okay.
And it's either of an episode of the Disney Plus's Jonas, or it is an episode of McGee and Me. And because I want this to be, somewhat doable, I will actually read the episode description if you'd like, if you need an extra hint. Okay?
Love it.
All right. So each of you will get 4. The winner gets pride, and they will be
shame
a champion
at the same time.
in my heart forever. Felicia, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'll go
Okay.
first.
All right. The episode title is Skate Expectations. So here's the premise. After trying to protect a geeky boy, Philip, from Derek and his friends, Nick finds himself in a skateboarding contest, even though he isn't that good at it. So is that the premise for McGee and Me, or is this one for the Jonas Brothers show, the actual one for Skate Expectation? The Jonas Brothers find themselves at the Winter Olympics for a special performance. However, after a freak injury to the American ice skaters, they must compete against a team of Soviet pop stars called the Kremlin Crew. Only one of those is the real Skate Expectations. Which one do you think it is, Felicia?
The Jonas?
I'm sorry. It's actually an episode of McGee and Me. That's okay. That's okay.
That was
We're
my
just
favorite
getting
one.
warmed up.
It
All
was. It had a green cover.
He always trash bags. I thought was the coolest thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
garbage can
Alicia.
falls over, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And then he ollies
awesome.
over.
See,
It was
this is
awesome.
just a setup. I'm just doing this so JD can start to feel cocky and then just blow
Right,
up.
you're rolling into
Oh,
I like
look
your
at-
strategy.
Yeah.
Behold how easily he falls
Like,
into your web.
like a billiards hall hustler. Like,
Yeah.
oh, lose a couple to get him confident. I like it.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, which I think getting hustled in a billiards hall was also an episode of McGee and Me. Okay. Episode title, A Star in the Breaking. So here's your options here, JD. Nick, his mom, and his cartoon pal McGee learn a lesson in humility when the fame and popularity of being on a game show goes to Nick's head. Or a star in the breaking, the younger 4th bonus Jonas brother writes a breakout single and threatens his older brother's fame. Which one is real?
This is McGee and Me.
Unbelievable. You are correct.
Yeah. The cover, he was standing in a black suit with a black tie in front of a red curtain with his arms crossed.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
Did I
enough.
get bonus points?
There's
Did I get
no bonus
points?
points.
All right. Yeah, Felicia. This episode is called The Ding You Do. The Ding You Do. Here's the premise. Joe finds that it's rough being a member of Jonas when he develops a crush on a cello player who dislikes rock stars, so he learns to play the triangle in an orchestra. Or McGee and Nick learn a tough lesson about what it means to be a good neighbor after getting caught up in games of Ding Dong Ditch that went way too far. The Ding You Do. Which one of those is the actual premise of a show?
You sure it's not the way you do the ding you do?
Yeah, it could be. It could be, to be fair. You get a bonus point, I think, for that.
I'm going to go with Jonas.
You are correct. Yeah, I'm giving you the bonus point because you made the episode title even better. We got ourselves a tie ball game, ladies and gentlemen. All right, JD. You think you're tough? You think you're tough? Have you ever heard of an episode called Twister and Shout? Twister and Shout? Is it when the kids face the news of impending tornado? In the process, they deal with fear and faith in God. Or the Jonas Brothers become the face of a new Weather Channel emergency notification system called Brothers Keeper. Which one is Twister and Shout?
Oh, man. Here's the deal. This could be a tricky one because I distinctly remember a tornado-themed episode of McGee and Me when there's a tornado that comes down the road, but all it does is like smash a window.
Okay.
But I don't remember the title of it.
Oh, so what is it? Twister and Shout.
I'm going to go Jonas.
I'm sorry. You should have gone with your first instinct. He is wrong. Felicia, you can take the lead right here.
Can I take the question?
What's that?
Can I take the question he just
Let's
had?
go steal it.
Yes, steal it. Take the lead. And you got to tell me.
That was really called Twister and Shout. Man.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
All right. How about this?
All these
one?
are familiar to me.
How about this one? The person who wrote, I'm pretty sure the person who wrote these episode titles are the same people for both show. This one's called A Wasabi Story. Not a sob story, a wasabi story. All right, here are the two premises. As a quote unquote joke, McGee replaces a tub of green sherbet at the end of a sushi restaurant buffet with wasabi. When a family member is hospitalized because of the prank, McGee learns a tough life lesson about food allergies. Or Vanessa arranges a double date with Stella and Ben, who are evidently characters on Jonas, with her and Joe to have a world-famous sushi chef come over and cook for them. But things get awkward when occurring events leads to Ben and Vanessa finding out that Joe and Stella still have feeling for each other. That's a tangled web they're weaving over there on Jonas. Is it Jonas or McGee and Me for A Wasabi Story?
You know, I'm gonna go with McGee and Me for this one.
I'm sorry. As much as an episode about food allergies would have done well.
This is the 90s. Jonas. We didn't have food allergies then.
You know, that's true. Wasabi would
right.
make me cry, so definitely. Dang it.
I still think Felicia's winning. I think you're going to have to.
Here's the deal. Regardless of the points, Felicia is definitely winning.
Okay. All right. JD,
that was
this one's
scarred
called
childhood.
Yeah, much better than anyone who had to watch these shows.
JD, this one's called Cold Shoulder. Is it the Jonas Brothers? Kevin's old girlfriend has joined their school, but the kids in her school make fun of her because they find her eccentric. Or the popular kids pick on Nick, mainly because he spends most of his time talking to an invisible, tiny, animated man and lecturing everyone on basic moral principles. It's called Cold Shoulder. Which one is the real one?
That's Jonas Brothers.
That is all Jonas. Okay.
Yeah.
That is, you are correct. All right. You know what? Felicia, I feel like this should be the all or nothing for the win question.
Oh man.
How do you feel about this? How about this? I'll give you the choice. Would you like to take the for the win question, or do you want JD to take it? I think you should bet on yourself here.
Question. Yeah.
I think it should definitely be all for the win.
Okay.
And is it a really hard question?
What?
I think
it's a good question.
I think you're making the right choice by going all for the win here. I'll say that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
This
here we
episode,
go. I have nothing to lose
this
anyway.
episode got dark. Okay. This one is called The Tale of the Haunted Firehouse. All right. The Tale of the Haunted Firehouse. And here's the descriptions. For the Jonas Brothers, when Kevin thinks there's a ghost in the firehouse, he enlists Stella, Joe, and Nick to help him find it. They don't think there is a ghost. That is until Nick disappears. Or is it the episode of McGee and Me, one of the series' more graphic episodes, when Nick learns a tough life lesson about witchcraft after finding a Ouija board in the back of an abandoned firehouse, forcing McGee to conduct a violent exorcism? The Tale of the Haunted Firehouse. Which one is real?
Jonas.
You are correct for the win. Though I would pay to see that episode of McGee and Me. I want to see a very spooky. Felicia, congratulations. I think
Thank
as a
you.
winner, I think
What a
You know, the
victory.
last shall be the first. I just want to throw that out there.
I think
very gracious.
as your prize, I think we need to track down the box set of McGee and Me and allow you to watch them for yourself. I think
No,
that's
no,
really
you're
the
too
gift that
kind.
keeps-
Please. I do not deserve that.
Do you remember there was like a thing where like they did a few where he was at one age and then they like went away for a while
Yeah,
and
then
then
he was way older.
And then he was way older and
Yeah.
it just did not play as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it just-
I guess
it
when you're a
wasn't-
little kid, having a cute little animated conscience pal could be kind of like a fun little quirk. But once the voice drops and you see
You're like a
shaving and
senior
everything,
in high school.
then you're just like, this guy's
time
kind
to-
of
it's time to-
weird.
it's time to stop talking to the invisible little man.
Right,
Like, it's
yeah.
just let's just move on here. Well, Felicia, we'll try to get you those VHS tapes. And hopefully, I don't know if you have a VHS player, but
Oh, I
something
know
to
the
play them
music.
so that you can enjoy them. You know.
Thank you, guys.
The music.
Thanks, Felicia. You're awesome.
Right now there's a Rube Goldberg machine activating in order to sharpen his pencil.
Oh, this does sound pretty exciting. Just the music. Well, thank you very much, first of all, to the big winner of the day, Felicia. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate having
It
you,
was rigged.
you on the podcast. We got to bring you back soon to keep putting John David back in his place.
Yeah. Keep giving John David L's on the board. That's what he needs.
Hey, also thanks to David Kinnaman. Faith for Exiles, 5 Ways for a New Generation to Follow Jesus in Digital Babylon is out now. Please pick it up. It's a super interesting book. Thank you to Squarespace. Head over to squarespace.com/relevant for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your site, use the offer code RELEVANT to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain at squarespace.com/relevant. Also, make sure you subscribe to Relevant Daily. That's our daily podcast where I bring you the top 3 stories that happened at the intersection of faith and culture that you need to know about. And with that, we'll wrap it up. I'm Tyler Huckabee.
I'm Chandler String.
I'm Jesse Carey.
John David Harris.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Relevant Podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Check out other shows from the Relevant Podcast Network in the podcast section at relevantmagazine.com. And while you're there, browse exclusive podcast merchandise at our online store. Make sure to subscribe to Relevant Magazine. Info is available at relevantmagazine.com/subscribe.
I'm going to give you glue and macaroni. So really make this thing pop.
Relevant Podcast Network.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Go to Dutch.com to get vet care that is always there for just $92 a year.